I mean, it might be worth talking about a topical event, which is it's kind of topical as we're recording, but the way that the outrage machine works, it might not be topical by the time this podcast comes out. But I was very pleased to see you defend Richard Dawkins. He's been trending on social media and making news headlines lately for some comments he made on self-identification on Twitter. And a lot of American atheist, secular, humanist organizations took a very strong line against him, condemned him, rescinded an award he'd received in 1996. And you called this cowardly and scandalous, which I think was absolutely correct. So have you got a sort of idea of what's going on in the States with these groups? What's taken hold to get to the point where they're treating someone like Richard Dawkins, an absolute champion of humanism, in such a terrible way because of some very benign statements he made on Twitter?
And I think it's all the more astonishing that this was done by the Humanist Association of America. You have to wonder what exactly it is that association does. You set up such a thing, and I'm vaguely acquainted with them. But I thought that they set that up to promote reason and critical thinking, discussions on everything that's going on. But one thing that is supposed to distinguish humanists from all others is that, we are reasonable people. And we can take, no question is too offensive, or, we say that we're different from the religious lot because they get preemptively offended, or they have blasphemies and things like that. And so for them to rescind an award from 1996 for one of the most benign questions of our time, and I really thought it was a good question, by the way. If you can change your gender and gender is fluid, why should race not be fluid in the age of identity politics?
I've noticed no one's attempted an answer.
No one has attempted an answer because everyone is now in this incredible time where people are either too scared to say anything, and then you leave the stage to the mad people who want to silence us all and who want to divide us based on our skin colors and gender and all of these other things. And so, I mean, of course, Richard Dawkins, I'm just so glad that he's choosing not to be silent and to carry on. It also shows that he's not just against religious dogma or the traditional religious dogma with, God and a hell and a heaven, but also this pseudo-religion that is of secular origin, but just as close-minded as the traditional religions, and in some ways probably even worse because it's new and self-righteous in ways that, all this talk of justice, when in fact all the engaging is injustice and the pursuit of power. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, at least Christianity has the concept of forgiveness. And I mean, I never thought someone as firebrand as me would be talking up Christianity in 2021, but there we are. I mean, there's been some sort of discussion and debate about where you are now in terms of your religious identity. Do you still identify as an atheist? There was some sort of rumblings about whether or not you might be a Christian now, and if so, is that right?
I do identify as an atheist, a humanist. Still, I know the more unreasonable we become as human beings, the more challenging it is to call yourself a humanist. But yes, I do, think that the evolution theory, I find that's more appealing, say, than the explanations, religious explanations for the existence of the world and for our existence and way to explain the world. But over time, obviously, I have come to see that religions are in fact different. And so you mentioned that Christianity has this concept of redemption, and a lot of tolerance is built into it, especially the New Testament. And it's very important to see these distinctions. I was raised, as you know, within Islam, and it's very, very different. And so even though I note these differences and I say your Christianity is more evolved, let's say the Judeo-Christian tradition is more evolved than the Islamic traditions. And then now we are confronted with this new thing. And I know, my British friend Helen Pluckrose has written with the American James Lindsay a book on this, and they're fighting it, not just a book, but they've also managed to organize, set up what I hope will become a movement and an effective movement to push this thing back. But yeah, I mean, in terms of am I an atheist, I would say yes, and still very much wedded to reason and science and objectivity and individual, freedom and dignity. So
yeah,